At 38, I had come to appreciate the woman I saw in the mirror each morning. Time, with all its complexities and inevitable changes, had treated me with a gentleness I didn't expect. The fine lines around my eyes felt like stories, rather than flaws, and the soft glow of my skin was a reward I owed to years of committed self-care, an amalgamation of early morning workouts, devoted skincare, and an unyielding commitment to nourishing both body and mind. Michael, my husband, often told me I was beautiful. He said it in passing, in quiet moments between meetings or during dinner when he looked up from his phone long enough to notice the curve of my smile. But with his demanding schedule, those affirmations sometimes faded into the background. Like a distant echo I strained to hear. That morning began like so many others, Michael rising early, already dressed in the hush of dawn, whispering a goodbye I barely registered through the fog of sleep. When the door clicked shut behind him, a peaceful silence settled over the house. I loved that quiet. It was mine, untouched, still. I made my way to the bathroom, relishing the solitude. There was something ritualistic about the way I cared for myself in those early hours. I applied a cooling face mask, feeling its weight like a shield against the world's demands. Then I stepped beneath the gentle cascade of the shower, letting the warmth wrap around me like a balm. Afterward, I reached for something special, my red lingerie. Red always stirred something in me, a reminder of power, of presence. As I towel-dried my hair, I caught my reflection and paused. Peeling away the mask, I stared into the mirror with quiet contemplation. There I stood, vibrant, composed, quietly. Resilient. A small thought whispered through my mind. Michael would have appreciated this moment. And then, as swiftly as it arrived, the thought dissolved, replaced by another one I hadn't expected. Aiden. His name stirred something I couldn't quite define. He had only recently returned, settling back into the rhythms of the house. Though the adjustment had been more mine than his, he moved like a ghost through the rooms, silent but present, and I often forgot he was even there. That made the sudden creak of the bathroom door all the more jarring. I spun around, startled, my heart thudding. There he stood, Aiden, his expression one of immediate horror as he turned his gaze away. Hands raised in apology. Elena, I didn't realize. I thought the room was empty, he stammered, backing toward the door. I fumbled for the towel, heat rising in my face as I clutched it to my chest. Aiden, haven't you learned to knock? I asked, trying to find steadiness in my tone. I'm sorry, he muttered, retreating and closing the door behind him. Silence reclaimed the room, but something unspoken had already been set in motion. I stood still, breath shallow, staring once again into the mirror. The image hadn't changed, yet everything within me had shifted. My thoughts spiraled, unsure whether to label the sensation embarrassment, surprise, or something else altogether. Why did my heart race the way it did? Why did the encounter brief, accidental linger in my mind like a trace of perfume? I tried to shake the feeling, to refocus, but my thoughts kept drifting back to Aiden. Not inappropriately, not yet, but with curiosity. A memory surfaced him. Exiting the bathroom after a shower, damp hair tousled, a towel wrapped low around his waist. There had been nothing to it at the time, or so I told myself. Yet now that memory shimmered in my mind with unexpected clarity. I turned back to my reflection, examining not just my body, but the emotion in my eyes. Was it pride? Guilt? Longing? At 38, I'd always thought I knew myself. But in that moment, I realized that knowing and understanding could be miles apart. Michael's name surfaced, grounding me, my husband. The man I had built this life with. He was 10 years my senior, a respected figure in his field, always consumed by work. His presence at home had become more symbolic than emotional. He existed in my life, yet at times it felt more like we cohabited than connected. In his absence, I had grown used to solitude, used to eating meals alone, to seeking comfort in silence. But the appearance of Aiden, his energy, his youth had stirred something unfamiliar. Not attraction, not yet, but a vibration, a question. What happens when someone notices you in a way you thought had been forgotten? Later that day, as the sun dipped low and shadows crept along the walls, Michael mentioned a party. Tomorrow night, he said between bites of dinner, could be a good change of pace for us. His words were casual, almost dismissive, but I clung to them. I imagined laughter, closeness, maybe a reminder of what once drew us together. I prepared, carefully choosing a form-fitting red dress that accentuated my figure, applying my makeup with patience, curling each strand of hair, until it framed my face just right. I wanted to feel seen, but that evening, despite my efforts, Michael's attention drifted. He left early, citing a follow-up meeting with colleagues. And just like that, the illusion of the night vanished. I returned home alone. The house felt cavernous, echoing with the sound of my heels on the hardwood floor. I climbed the stairs slowly, the air thick with disappointment. My reflection greeted me again in the bedroom mirror, the same dress, now rumpled, makeup slightly smudged, and there it was again. That feeling, that quiet ache beneath the surface. Something had shifted, not dramatically, but undeniably. Space had opened inside me, filled not just with questions, but with awareness. What would come next? I didn't yet know. But I could no longer pretend I hadn't felt it. Yet a profound sadness weighed heavily on my heart at night. The moments I had anticipated sharing with him faded away like grains of sand slipping through my grasp upon my return home. I found myself inebriated and solitary. I felt shattered as I ascended the stairs and shed my garments. I couldn't help but notice it after all the anticipation and dreams of a night with Michael. I stood there still in the dress I wore that night, the makeup slightly smudged. I felt exposed, my irritation intensified. Crimson gown, the carefully applied makeup, all of it amounted to naught in that moment. A profound emptiness enveloped me. Surge of anger welled up within my amidst that turmoil. I realized I had to find a way to navigate through this night hat. Left me feeling so utterly shattered, I swiftly made my way to the kitchen. Perhaps a drink, perhaps a cigarette. I found myself in need of a mental cleanse. I simply sought a brief respite, gather my thoughts, and regain my composure. I approached the fridge, filled a glass with alcohol, then retrieved a pack of cigarettes and ignited one. Smoke left my throat, feeling oddly fatigued with this evening. It seemed as though time had frozen, presenting itself directly before me in that instant and unforeseen event unfolded. A footstep echoed through the silence, drawing my gaze swiftly to the kitchen door. Aiden had returned to the familiar embrace of home. His return was a bewildering mystery, leaving me momentarily speechless, grappling with the questions of when and why he had reappeared. I had envisioned a serene evening spent in solitude with Michael. The sight of Aiden standing before me stirred an unexpected response within me. Aiden had initially intended to depart, yet the course of his friends' plans shifted unexpectedly, resulting in the cancellation of his flight and eventuality I had never even contemplated. Now here we stood, in the heart of the kitchen. I found myself rooted in the kitchen, a swirl of confusion enveloping me as I beheld Aiden before Meha's presence, entirely unforeseen. There I stood clad in black lace lingerie, an unexpected sight for anyone. It was precisely how he discovered me. Inhaled deeply, attempting to avert my gaze from him. A wave of embarrassment washing over me. Apologize, Aiden, I murmured, my voice quivering slightly. I had no idea you were present. I must admit, I didn't expect it to feel so strange to encounter you here. I bowed my head, avoiding any chance of meeting their gaze. Amidst the tumult of emotions swirling within me, found myself at a loss for words. Yet Aiden, with an air of unruffled composure, approached me without a hint of surprise in his eyes. A subtle change occurred. He took a brief pause, then gently inquired, "Why are you crying?" "Elena has caused you to feel this way." His voice carried a distinct quality, this time resonating with a sincerity that felt more profound, more impactful. His eyes appeared to penetrate deep into my very essence. As he approached, a smile graced his lips. Yet it was more than a mere expression. It danced in his eyes as well. My thoughts swirled chaotic lifer. I was acutely aware of my emotions in that instant. His influence reached beyond the physical, resonating deeply within my emotions. My emotions were a tangled web, yet there was an entirely distinct sensation stirring within me. Aiden's gaze held a sincerity that, rather than instilling fear, drew me closer to him. His words only served to deepen the confusion swirling within me. I gradually Opened my eyes, I gazed upward and beheld the genuine look etched upon. His featureless gaze was so intense that it seemed he was not merely near me in body, but also deeply connected to my emotions. In that fleeting instant, I sensed the depth of my brokenness, weight of frustration settling in as the night-eyed vision slipped away from my grasp. Tears began to stream down my cheeks as Aiden approached. He murmured, "Eleanor, are you aware of the beauty that resides within Yui's words?" Brought a flicker of relief, yet they also left me in a state of astonishment. Michael's preoccupation with work has kept him from showering you with the attention you truly deserve. He continued, "Yet you, with your unique beauty and charm, are deserving of this. Night in all its wondrous words offered a measure of solace. My emotions remained in disarray. The turmoil within me was so intricate and profound that even the proximity to him kept everything from returning to its usual state. Aiden's eyes held a depth that drew me in, making it easy to lose myself within their gazine. That instant, my thoughts came to a standstill, and gradually I moved another step closer to him. Aiden remained motionless, his eyes wide with astonishment. As I advanced a step closer to him, the shift in his gaze was palpable, leaving me bewildered by the tumult of feelings swirling within. In that fleeting moment, turmoil within me collided with an irresistible Orgetto. Pressed my lips against his. In that fleeting instant, me only desire was to draw nearer to him and surrender completely. In a fleeting surge of emotion, I pressed my lips against Aiden's sit, unfolded in an instant, catching me completely off guard. With my eyes shut the moment our lips to shed, it felt as though time itself had come to a standstill. The warmth enveloped meth quickened rhythm of my heart, and the tautness in his form, each sensation conspired to erase all else in a heartbeat. In that moment, I sensed Aiden poised and sipping my kiss in return. Moment lingered longer than it should have and mystically revealed the intensity of his reaction. Gradually, as his hand found its place on my waist, space that once separated us vanished entirely. In an instant, the intricate tapestry of emotions within me transformed into an overwhelming surge of longing. And hearing his breath, I instinctively drew myself nearer to him. Swiftly, we glided from the kitchen into the living room, our lips remaining locked in a fervent embrace. With each stride, our bodies met the wall sand, and that charged moment we held each other closer as Aiden's hands explored my body, moved instinctively, carried by emotion into the living room, and made our way toward the living room door. In that moment, one unexpectedly found ourselves on the couch in the living room, side by side. Breathless, Aiden had abandoned his pants in the kitchen beside the couch, while my black lace underwear rested on the floor. Peculiarity of the moment struck my simultaneously. I found myself utterly adrift. I blinked awake and gazed at him in hulling, deeply observing the rapid escalation of events. I caught a glimpse of my own expression and offered a faint smile. His eyes revealed the depth of his feelings for me. He inhaled deeply, met my gaze, and asked, "Elena, had transpired? What prompted us to take this action?" I felt a mix of surprise and relief as I followed his gaze. Words eluded me, yet the need to express myself was undeniably unfolded in a surge of passion. I confessed, my gaze flickering toward him, yet I find myself at a loss, yearning to release the emotions that dwell within me. Believe there was no alternative to spending this night as I am. Aiden nodded, his fingers weaving gently through my hair. "Is it truly wrong for us to draw this closely?" Inquired. Aiden's hands rested on my waist. This touch lingered longer than it should have, deepening the emotional weight of the moment, leaving an indelible mark with each fleeting moment. My breath caught in my throat as he gazed into my eyes. Inhaled deeply, gradually leaning in closer to me. He started to speak as though he were revealing something profound. I found myself ensnared in the web of betrayal. Elena. He reflected on the struggles he had faced, but at this moment he felt an entirely new sense of buying the genuine quality of his voice. Took me aback, yet it also brought a sense of comfort that advanced another step, and I found myself adrift in the profound depths of his gaze. There is an undeniable closeness between us. These emotions catch me off guard, yet I sense your presence. Elena, your presence is palpably as if you are right beside me. In a fleeting moment, a whirlwind of emotions surged within me, and my heart raced with fervor. Aiden's words revealed the peculiar intricacies of our situation, yet in that instant I sensed a palpable connection, the intimacy of his presence. Way he drew nearer to me, thoughts swirling in my mind resonated with me in a profoundly different manner gently. As I reconnected with his gaze, I whispered I was alone, Aiden's solitude enveloped. Right now, the landscape of my life has transformed entirely for the first time. I experience the sensation, youthful exhalated, and adrift, a sense of change washes over me. Murmured, my voice quivering in that moment, articulating my emotions proved to be a formidable challenge. The sensations Aiden evoked within me were undeniably tangibly. That moment the door swung open, a voice emerged. Elena. Michael stepped through the door, his eyes widening in disbelief at the sight of us both. In that instant, time stood still. Time appeared to stand still. Aiden and I locked gazes, a moment suspended and temporalized. By uncertainty, Michael grappled the tumult of emotions swirling within him, his face a canvas painted with shock and anger as he sought to unravel the mystery of what was unfolding between. Yosha's eyes widened and for a fleeting moment became still, suspending his breath in the air. And that was the moment when chaos erupted. What the hell is going on? Hari exclaimed, his voice laced with a rough edge of anger. And a heartbeat. Chaos erupted and everything unraveled. Michael's voice thundered with such intensity and fury that it seemed to rattle the very walls of the houses. Eyes were filled with a tumult of anger and disappointment. What on earth is happening? Hari inquired, yet almost immediately it became less about the question itself and more about the fury and resentment etched across his features. Pivoted towards Aiden, his hands trembling as he pointed at him. Leave this place immediately. Tell you no longer have a place in this house. Declared. She is my wife. Esh is your mother. It was unwise to involve her in this matter. What on earth were you thinking? How could you both simply overlook me in such a manner? Words eluded me. Shock enveloped me completely. Me eyes brimmed with unshed tears, yet I held them back in that moment. Michael cast the blame upon me, moving a narrative where everything seemed to rest squarely on my shoulder. What was I meant to express? Was I capable of addressing his Furiwi? Elena, had on earth prompted you to do this? Michael pressed on, undeterred. What have I done to deserve fish out? Can one come to terms with the loss of both their husband and their son in such a manner? Days met mine, yet the words that escaped your lips were nothing but falsehoods. All I experienced was a profound sense of being shattered within, yet not a solitary word escaped my lips. Me eyes brimmed with tears, yet despite the weight of my sorrow, I found myself unable to utter a single word. Nothing was destined to shift. I was certain of that. Then Michael exclaimed, oh, come on, leave now. This house no longer has room for the both of you. Was urging us toward the exit. Aiden and I shared a moment, our gazes intertwining. Silence enveloped us for a time, yet an unspoken understanding lingered, reveling the turmoil we each harbored within. After a moment of contemplation, Aiden spoke with a serene demeanor, suggesting, let's go. I inclined my head in acknowledgement. It's time for us to leave this place. Upon stepping outside, the tears flowed endless. Life weight of guilt within was so immense that even tears could not provide solace. My mind was in a whirl. Uncertainty enveloped me, leaving me at a loss for direction. Everything unfolded in a whirlwind. I had plunged into action without a moment's thought, and now I found myself ensnarled in the chaos that was unraveling around me. Being with Aiden, the weight of the pain I had caused him consumed me. How could I have possibly allowed this to happen? I murmured softly to myself, me hands shielding my face as tears continued to flow. What words did I share with Michael? In what ways did I fail him? With each step, the weight of regret intensified. I was acutely aware of my uncertainty. A part of me held on to the hope that these emotions would eventually fade away with the passage of time. Aiden withdrew, yet his departure sparked a fleeting flicker of hope within me, only for an instant proceed take the plunge. Everything is about to change for me now, I remarked, my gaze following him as he walked away. I advanced yet another moment into the future, and solitude, even amidst the shadows that enveloped me, found the promise of light once more. In that fleeting moment, I inhaled deeply, unearthing a reservoir of strength from within. I would find a way to navigate this challenge. I would rediscover my essence once more. A new beginning would unfold. If you've journeyed to this point, it's clear that the tale has captured your imagination. There is an abundance of insights to convey, and you certainly won't want to overlook a single moment of it. Be sure to tap the follow buttonable notifications and share your thoughts in the comments on this tale. I'm eager to hear your insights, so let's engage in the comments.